All right, so here in chapter 4.4, we're going to be taking word problems and we're going to be writing them as a system of equations. We're going to take that system of equations and write it as a matrix, and then we're going to take that matrix, put it in our calculator, and I'm going to show you how to solve that system of equations with basically no effort. So it says the Frosty Ice Cream Shop sells sundaes for $2 and banana splits for $3. On a hot summer day, the shop sold 8 more sundaes than banana splits and made a total of $156. So first, let's define our variables. I'm going to make S the number of sundaes because we were trying to find how many sundaes and banana splits there are. And then we're going to say that B is the number of banana splits. All right, so now I'm going to make my system of equations. We know we're going to have the letters S and B in both of these equations. And my first one, let's just talk about how many of each we have. And so we know that the shop sold 8 more sundaes than banana splits. So the number of sundaes would be the number of banana splits plus 8, right? There's more sundaes than banana splits. Now we're going to make an equation that relates to the money. And it says that they sell sundaes for $2, so that's 2S. And they sell banana splits for $3, so that's 3B. They sold that for a total of $156. All right. So we have 2 equations. So we can use, if we wanted to solve this by hand, we could use substitution and plug this B plus 8 in for S. And we get it all by hand, and that's great. But the problems that I give you are going to be a little bit more challenging than this, and they're not necessarily going to be that easy to use substitution or elimination, right? You're going to have some decimals and fractions that you have to work with, and larger numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get both of these in standard form. All right, standard form. And to do this, I'm going to first subtract the B over to the left side. So that's going to give me S minus B equals 8. All right, so this is going to be standard form. We're going to kind of pretend like S is the letter X and B is the letter Y. So you think like AX plus BY equals C. So S is kind of like our X in this problem, and then B is like our letter Y. I'm also going to have to rearrange this equation here, all right? So if we try to rearrange this one, let's do it over here. We had 2S plus 3B equals 156. I'm sorry, we're not going to have to rearrange this, right? This is already in standard form. We've got the S's, then the B's, then the constant, right? So we're good with this. So now, sorry about that, we're going to take that 2S plus 3B equals 156, and both of these are now in standard form, so we are good to go. All right, when we take this, we want to write this as a matrix, okay? All I have to do when I'm writing this as a matrix, notice I have 2 equations, so that means I have 2 rows. So in my matrix here, I'm going to have 2 rows, and we have 1, 2, 3 columns, okay? So I have 2 rows and 3 columns. All right, it's going to be a 2 by 3 matrix. So all I do is I enter the coefficients of each of these terms. So here we have a 1s, so I put a 1. Here we have a negative 1b, so I put a negative 1. Here we have a positive 8, so I put an 8. On the bottom equation, we have a positive 2 for my coefficient, we have a 3 for my coefficient, and we have a 156 for my coefficient. All right, so this is the matrix that I'm going to have to use in my calculator. All right, so when I take out my calculator, we're going to turn it on, and we are just going to just go to your calculator, right? So go to the home button, go to calculate, and what we're going to do is we are going to go to our menu, and we're going to choose the matrix and vector options. We're going to click that, and then we want to choose something called row reduced echelon form. All right, it's going to come in as a calculator as RREF, row reduced echelon form. You're going to select this, hitting enter. And now it's going to allow you to type something in these parentheses, all right? So what we want to type in is we want to type in this matrix that we came up with. So we're going to go and click on this button right here. This is our little next to the book. And we're going to choose the 3 by 3 matrix, all right? So it looks like a 3 by 3 matrix in the picture, but we actually get to choose what numbers we put in there. So we're going to click enter on this, and we get to choose the number of rows and columns. So we only want 2 rows. So we're going to make it 2 rows. We do want 3 columns. So we're going to hit OK on that. Whoops, that did not work for some reason. Let me go back. 2 rows and 3 columns. There we go. All right, that works. So now in this first entry, we're going to put in a 1. And then we got a -1. And then in our, we got an 8 we're going to put in. We got our 156. We've got a 2 and we've got a 3. All right, so make sure that your matrix here matches up with this matrix here. All right, and once these match up, you're just going to click enter and you get this for an answer. All right, so what this means that 1x plus 0y equals 36 and 0x plus 1y equals 28. In other words, right, there's really no y's in the first equation and there's no x's in the second equation. So what we're really saying is that x equals 36. Now remember, we said that x is relating to the number of Sundays, s. So this is Sundays. And then 1y is 28, so y is 28. And we said that y represents the number of banana splits. All right? And so that's how you figure out the answer to this problem. All right? So you could go ahead and you could use elimination, you could use substitution, whatever you want, and try to solve this by hand. But it's actually quite easy. Once you have both of these in standard form, you're then going to rewrite them as a matrix. You're going to choose RREF, type in that matrix, and you automatically get the answer. Okay? So here's a question now. What happens if we had like a bigger matrix, right? Like a system of 3 equations with 3 variables, right? So if I had a system of 3 equations, let's do 2x minus 4y plus z equals 8, negative x minus 2y plus 3z equals 11, and negative 5x, let's do minus 10y plus z equals 14. All right, so this is, we got a system of linear equations in 3 variables. What we can do is we can calculate this. We're going to, same thing, go back to menu, matrix and vector, row reduced echelon form, and now we're going to go and type in, we have a 1, 2, 3 rows, right? 1, 2, 3 rows. So we're going to do 3 rows. And the number of columns, we have x's, y's, z's, and constants. So I actually have 4 columns. So now we're going to type in 2, negative 4, 1, 8, negative 1, negative 2, 3, 11. And then our last row is negative 5, negative 10, 1, and 14. So we're going to hit enter, and we get this matrix here. All right, so not the nicest numbers. We have some fractions as answers. But again, what this means is that x, there's no y's and there's no z's, so x, 1x, is 9 over 56. So x is 9 over 56. And we know that no x's, 1 y, and 0 z's, so just y. Y is negative 19 over 16. And we know that no x's, no y's, and 1 z, so just z, is 41 over 14. So z is 41 over 14. So if we want to write our final answer, we could go ahead and write that using an ordered triple. So we would have 9 over 56 for x, negative 19 over 16 for y, and 41 over 14 for z. All right? So again, once you have your system of equations in standard form, just put that in a matrix and do RREF, and that's going to get you x, y, and z right away.